The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy, the brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, $50 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently early Tuesday morning, around 12:15 a.m. Eastern Time, here on September 2nd. I'm Rosso Reichel once again going solo for this pod. Time to break down the quarterfinals on the men's side for the U.S. Open. So you break down the matchups taking place on Tuesday and Wednesday. Before getting into the recap of the fourth round and before getting into the preview of the matches for the quarterfinals, a reminder, if you support the show, but like subscribing on YouTube, a reminder, let's leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple. So podcast available, audio format only, or video too, but you can leave support, you can leave some feedback. Either way, do so at YouTube or Spotify or Apple, so check that out. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store. We have a nice discount code right now for the merch store, because if you use the actual promo code, which is football, you'll get 25% off everything at checkout. So make sure to check out the Tennis Gambling Podcast merchandise there. Also, other shows, of course, NBA Gambling Podcast, WNBA Gambling Podcast, College Experience, you name it. Point is, though, you can check out the merch store, get a nice discount, 25% off everything with the code football at checkout. Plus, a reminder, check out the free roll football contest for the upcoming NFL season. Free to enter, and then you're picking every game ATS. $3K for first place, $4K if you are a member of the Patreon. And a reminder, we also have a nice Survivor contest, $100 entry fee. So check it out by going to sportsgambling.com/survivor to enter the $100, once again, Survivor NFL contest. Anyway, starting off with the actual recap of the lock and dog picks. Absolutely horrific. Not even close. Really, really bad choices by me. We picked for a couple of potentially close matches and the common theme of the fourth round. Damn, none of the matches were close. It was a bloodbath from start to finish. If you ended up picking the right guy, you won easily, because there was no drama at all in pretty much any of these matchups. But either way, picked up a loss for the lock. We had Fritz and Makic over 38.5 games, minus 126. Makic had given Fritz some problems in the past, not in the matchup that we bet on, because damn, Makic got killed, completely dead on arrival, and Fritz absolutely buried him. Not even close there. No breaker, no hope, really. It was over quickly. Either way, though, for the dog, picked up a loss with Djokovic to win, which we got right, but we had the over 33.5 games there at plus 110. Was torn between this play and Alcaraz and his over 30.5, and I chose poorly, as that Alcaraz one did win. Djokovic one did not. He won too easily. Struff no-showed the same way that Makic no-showed, and it was a bloodbath from start to finish. Joker was up, I think it was 4-0 immediately in the first set, and Struff really never threatened at all. So Djokovic won comfortably, so did Fritz, and our plays went up in flames. Not good, so apologies there if you ended up tailing. We'll try to bounce back here in the quarters. But damn, it was really, really bad. Nothing else to add there, but getting into the actual recap of the round itself. Once again, the real story was no drama at all. You're looking at a bunch of five-setters, a bunch of epics that we saw in the first couple of rounds. This round got off to a decent start as Lehecka took on Manarino. We did pick Lehecka to win in 4. So Lehecka to win, both players won a set there, ended up cashing. That was like plus 134, and the over got there. The problem was, after that, that was the only match in the entire round that did not end in straight sets. It was very, very straightforward and very, very boring, to be honest. So starting off with the matchups that ended up happening on Sunday. So for those matchups, Alcaraz beat Rinderknech in straight sets, but Rinderknech did cover the spread. We thought he would. We actually liked the over in that one that got there. You're looking at Makic and Fritz. Once again, Fritz buried him 6-4, 6-3, 6-3, and Djokovic beat Struff 6-3, 6-3, 6-2. So back-to-back matches we had money on where we were hoping for any type of drama at all, and we got none of it. So that did not work out anyway, but either way, the favorites won all easily and really never in doubt. So kind of a boring day there on Sunday. To be honest, as a side story, I was actually trying to watch the matches while I was at the poker room in Parks, and everybody was really hoping the Phillies game would be on. So a bunch of Phillies ESPN games instead, and I'm trying to squint to see the only tennis TV all the way across the poker room, and I see black shirt Djokovic just winning every point. That's kind of what happened, but that was my experience watching Djokovic play. I saw it from a distance, but I could tell he was winning almost every point. So that's kind of how I watched the match that day, but I guess I didn't miss out on much because Djokovic dominated, and from what I could see from the squinting and the pixels from across the actual room, I saw what I needed to see, and that was a complete no-show by Struff in that matchup. Now, moving on to the Monday matches, you figure, okay, Sunday was horrible. Let's see how Monday goes. And Monday was even worse. In fact, you saw 0 4-plus set matches in the entire day. 4 matches, and they all ended in straight sets. In fact, you had 0 tie breaks, and only 1 set had more than 10 games. It was as straightforward as you possibly could make it up, and de Minaur beat Reddy. We skipped it because we thought that he would kill him. We didn't want to waste our time. He dropped 6 games in the entire match. Reddy made a nice run as a Cinderella story. De Minaur killed him, and he won in straight sets. Now, Felix had the upset of the day, as he won in straight sets as a dog, as he ended up falling behind early in the first set. Rublev unraveled in the back end of that first set, as he was up 4-3, and got broken again to lose the set 7-5. Then he got destroyed 6-3, 6-4 in the final 2 sets. We did pick Felix to win that one. We thought Felix was in great form. We didn't care about the head-to-head too much, and Felix looks really, really good right now. I'm not going to officially take him off the clown list yet, but a Grand Slam semi-appearance, you're off the list. I feel like that's a pretty safe rule that we can make here. Point is, Felix has been playing insanely well, beating Zverev and Rublev back-to-back. Now de Minaur on deck. He's putting together a hell of a run. So props to Felix for playing well. Once again, the people on the clown list, I don't have anything against them personally. The point is, do I think that mentally they unravel at times, or do I think that they are going to cost us money by really just imploding when we don't want them to? And Felix has earned his spot on the top 10 list previously, but you can get yourself off the list by playing well. And Felix playing this well against Zverev and Rublev, only dropping 1 set against the 2 of them combined, he's playing out of his mind. So nice job by Felix to win in straight sets. That was the kind of the shocker of the day. We picked Felix to win, thought it would be closer, and it wasn't. But either way, nice straight set win for him. Then you had probably the second biggest dud of the entire card. You had Musetti taking on Munar. Now, Munar was good in the head-to-head against Musetti, and that's why we actually thought he had a chance potentially to win this match. Not even close. He won 4 games in the entire match. Since he's Spanish, Cuatro. He won Cuatro games. It was not good. Cuatro juegos. It was really, really bad. Muy malo. He got destroyed. Nothing else to add there. He was injured, and he played through it, and he took the ass-kicking. And unfortunately, if you had Munar, no void for you. He won 1 game in the final 2 sets combined. It was disgusting. Nothing else to really add. Musetti buried him. Munar could have quit, chose not to, and he ended up just getting destroyed. It's a nice job of Musetti, who keeps his dream run going in the U.S. Open. His reward, Jannik Sinner. So, congrats. We'll see what happens there, but either way, Battle of the Italians taking place on, once again, the quarterfinal stage. We'll see how that goes, but Musetti, end of the day, played a great match. Munar did not, and that was really the story. Now, for the final match, which was easily, by the way, I see M4 mentioning he should be off the list anyway. It's honestly fair. Like, you can make the argument he's off the list. I'll end up remaking the list at the end of the tournament. He might be off of it, honestly. I feel like beating de Minaur 2 would officially clinch him off the list. He's probably out anyway. Like, I think he's earned a spot to be out of the top 10. But if he beats de Minaur, he's guaranteed out of the top 10. I'll have to look through everybody again and re-grade it or rearrange it. But you're probably right. I think Felix is probably off the list right now. But beating de Minaur is guaranteed to be off the list. Besides that, though, looking at the final match, the biggest dud of the entire card, Sinner against Bublik. I don't really know where to start for this one, so I'm just going to say that it was one of the more lopsided matches I've seen in a very, very long time. And yes, I know that Swiatek ended up winning the Wimbledon final, 6-0, 6-0. I get it. But when you factor in, on the men's side, how difficult it is to return serve, especially for Bublik, who had not been broken in the entire tournament entering the round, Bublik went from being a very popular pick on social media to win a set, to maybe make the match interesting, to winning 3 games in the entire match. People were picking him to win 3 sets. He won 3 games. He won less than 2 games in every single set, and the match took about an hour and 20 minutes. It was an absolute destruction. I have nothing else to really add. Now, Bublik did us a solid, because I know it wasn't on the show, it was on my Twitter, but I did like Bublik a lot against Paul, and they got the job done. It's a nice job by him to get us some money if you back that play on Twitter. He was plus money in that matchup. I don't think fatigue played a factor because the Paul fifth set was so lopsided that it felt like Bublik kind of coasted because he was up 5-0 in 25 minutes. So he ended up winning 6-1, and you figured, okay, Sinner dropped the set to Shapo, maybe he's vulnerable. We saw Bublik beat him on grass in Halle, and Sinner said, absolutely not, get your ass out of here. And he killed him. 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. I mean, that is just an embarrassing scoreline. You'd assume that's based on injury, or at least a bad server. Like if you had a guy, for example, like Schwartzman, for example, end of his career. We know he's not a good server. He's going to get broken a lot. Bublik had not been broken in the entire tournament leading up to this match, and he won one game in each of the 3 sets. Absolutely disgusting. I have nothing else to add. Sinner, I've mentioned many times before. I think even though Alcaraz is very solid in the head-to-head, of course, against Sinner, I think Sinner is the number 1 player in the world. I think that it's pretty obvious at this point. I get the argument is Alcaraz just beat him in Cincinnati with a retirement. Who cares? He was winning anyway. I get it. The head-to-head does favor Alcaraz despite the Wimbledon final. Sinner, once again, is a blown triple championship point away in the French Open from owning the calendar Grand Slam. I think Sinner's number 1 in the world, and he proved it with an unbelievable performance on Monday. Yes, Alcaraz has not dropped a set yet. He's been very good as well, not roasting Alcaraz here. The point is, though, if Sinner plays like that, he's winning the tournament. I mean, I don't think anyone can beat him. I think you're looking at Sinner playing that well against such an elite server. I don't know what you're supposed to do. And Bublik had some jokes after the match talking about how he couldn't play any better. This guy's basically AI, and he thought he wasn't even playing that badly. Bublik, you could argue, mentally checked out once he was down a ton. I think we all would have, if we're being honest here, but I didn't think Bublik was horrendous. I don't think he was good, but I think Sinner obviously neutralized everything that Bublik wanted to do. But Bublik, I thought, was playing okay. I think he just went up against a tennis god and got his ass kicked. I mean, it looked like he was against prime Federer and Djokovic mixed together, and he got buried. There's nothing really else to say. I think Bublik was right, though. He was playing great tennis. He had a massive win streak. He had a phenomenal run so far in the event, not getting broken, and he faced off against a god. And he got destroyed because he's immortal. That's kind of what happened. So, a mortal went up against the god, and the god won handily. That's really all I have to say. Sinner, by the time he retires, assuming he doesn't get injured, will probably be a top 5 player of all time. Same with Alcaraz, probably, but I don't know how you can really watch that match and just say that Sinner is not just an unreal player who is almost impossible to beat. It seems like one guy, who's Alcaraz, can actually beat him. Djokovic can't beat him. Bublik beat him one time on grass, and that's one of his favorite tournaments. But on hard court, it is really, really tough. Defending U.S. Open champion, 2-time defending Australian Open champion. He is a phenomenal hard court player, and I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do. You just lose, you take the ass kicking, and say thank you. That's kind of all I have to say. So people are going to get mad at Bublik for no-showing the match. I'm not even going to go that far. Bublik could have played better, but what do you want from the guy? Like, Sinner has more winners than unforced errors. He got broken. He dominated the entire match. I just thought Sinner went God mode for 3 sets, and Bublik was basically a practice partner. That's kind of what the match was. So, yeah, definitely a boring final match of the day with the most lopsided scoreline that we had. He won less games than Munar did against Musetti, but yeah, that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Sinner dropped the set to Shapo. He was pissed off, and I know made some jokes before the match looking for revenge after losing to him in Halle. And, yeah, he took him behind the woodshed. There's really nothing else to add. But Sinner, right now, if he plays like that, he reminded everyone why he is number 1 in the world and why he is the guy to beat in every hard court event. And if he keeps playing like that, even Alcaraz is not beating him. I'll tell you that much. Now, we'll see if Sinner can replicate it, but either way, he has a much weaker server on deck with Musetti, who's been playing very well. We'll see how that goes. But once again, Sinner really just dropped the hammer on him. Nothing else to add. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the actual 4th round. Once again, a pretty boring collection of matches. Only one of the matches did not end in straight sets, which sucked. But either way, if you had overs, you got buried, so welcome to the club. But I think we all know, as Manzi's pointing out, that Alcaraz and Sinner are by themselves. I love Djokovic. He played very well against Struff. Yes, I know he beat Alcaraz in the Aussie Open. Maybe he can beat Alcaraz in the U.S. Open if they face off in the semis, which is projected according to the actual odds. We'll see, but I don't see Djokovic ever beating Sinner, and we've seen it many times. Sinner is on another level, and I think that you're looking at two guys being the, of course, owners of men's tennis right now, Alcaraz and Sinner, and they're both very, very young. It's a problem for a lot of the tour, basically all of the tour, besides two people. Anyway, that's going to actually wrap it up for the fourth round recap. Time to get into the breakdown of the quarterfinals. We're going to that the reminder. They're brought to you by our sponsor, which is MyBookie.ag. Using to bet on football, for college football, NFL. They have prop builders, which are second to none. They have a nice motto, which is kind of synonymous with our motto, which is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. You know the podcast we have here. We had a lacrosse podcast. We have a UFL. We have a bunch of stuff for the network. So once again, if you want to bet on some DGen things, check out MyBookie because they have a lot of options for you. Also, a reminder, you can also check out the platform and deposit and get payouts with crypto. Check that out. And also, when you do sign up for your account, use code SGPN to get 100% bet back bonus up to $500. For new customers, MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because you can use them for a bunch of different sports. They have models for the NFL, for college football. You can use them for baseball, WNBA, golf, you name it. You can also use their new leaderboard with weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model you build, and you win $1,000. So check that out for a giveaway. And a reminder, also get in on the action with a free trial for a week. Use 7-day free trial by using the promo link that we have with Rhythm. Use the link sportsgamble.com Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the fourth round. Time to move on into the quarterfinals. So, once again, it's divided amongst 2 days. So, for the first two matches on the card for Tuesday, first of all, really weird schedule because you have the first men's quarterfinal match is taking place at 12:40 p.m. Eastern. The second one is taking place at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. So there's basically an 8-hour gap. Now, I understand that you're looking at what should be a match that's not going to end in 1 minute, so maybe the Alcaraz-Lehecka match takes 2+ hours. Still, that's about a 6-hour gap in between the men's first quarterfinal match and second quarterfinal match. And you'd argue, well, of course, because the women's quarterfinals are taking place at the same time. Except the Pegula match is taking place at 11:30 a.m., and the Sabalenka match is taking place at 7 p.m. So the middle of the afternoon is just nothing for tennis. They didn't even stagger out the women's matches with the men's. You figured, okay, you're going to have the men's matches starting at around noon, give or take. Maybe you'll throw in the women's matches at around 3 and 5. And then you end up having the final men's match at around 8 p.m. They didn't even do that. So middle of the afternoon, if Alcaraz ends up burying Lehecka, we'll preview that match in a second, it's going to be a pretty boring afternoon of tennis. So I kind of find the schedule confusing. I get you want to create a night session and a day session, so you want to make sure that you can charge people for each session. But the spacing just feels very, very off to me. And that was something I noticed, because you figured, okay, the men's match starting at noon or 12:40, the women's matches will be a buffer between the first men's match and the second men's match. But it's not, because the Pegula match is starting before the Alcaraz match. So I don't really get the schedule, but it's what we got. So either way, it is what it is. Moving on, though, to the first match here. You have Lehecka taking on Alcaraz. Alcaraz minus 2,000. Somehow Alcaraz is a bigger favorite against Lehecka than Sinner is against Musetti. I don't understand that at all, but that's what we're looking at. Sinner is minus 1,667, give or take, and Alcaraz is minus 2,000. I don't know why Alcaraz is a bigger favorite than Sinner, but either way. Lehecka's plus 850 for the spread. You have minus 7.5 for Alcaraz. You have plus 7.5 for Lehecka. The over-under is at 32.5. 31.5 you can also find at around minus 125. Excuse me, if you want that instead. The sets, the under 3.5 sets is minus 143. The over 3.5 sets is plus 117 for the set spread. You have Alcaraz in straight sets at minus 136. You'll have Lehecka to win a set at plus 107. Now, for the matchup here, I'll point out Alcaraz is 3-0 in the head-to-head. They faced off earlier this year on grass. However, the matchups have been close, actually. So they faced off in 2023 in London on grass. Alcaraz buried him, 6-2, 6-3. Since then, though, two pretty competitive meetings, faced off in Doha this year and faced off in London this year in a title match actually in London. So Leheshka actually beat him in the only hardcore matchup this season as he won in 3 sets. So Leheshka does have a win on hardcore this year against Alcaraz. Now, Alcaraz wasn't playing his best tennis early to start the season. He's been playing a lot better lately, obviously. But Leheshka has beaten him on hardcourt before. Faced off again on grass in the title match in London, and Alcaraz did end up winning in 3. But Leheshka has given him a run for his money. Will he win? No. I think we all know Alcaraz and Sinner are probably facing off in the final, but I think you're looking at Leheshka, who feels disrespected by this price. Once again, I'm not arguing that he should be a lower number. I just don't understand how he's a bigger dog than Musetti. That part I don't understand at all. But either way, the point is Leheshka has had a pretty good run so far in the event. You'd argue weak competition. Either way, he's been playing very well. Beat Manarino in 4, beat Calignon as a complete Cinderella run in the 3rd round in straight sets, beat Echeverry in 4, and beat Chorich in 4. So once again, a weak overall path. I'm aware of it, but still he's played well. Looking at Alcaraz, though, beat Rinderknech in straight sets, beat Darderi in straight sets, beat Bellucci in straight sets, and beat Opelka in straight sets. So I can't really criticize Leheshka's path if Alcaraz hasn't really played anybody either. Now, I understand Rinderknech is a player with a good serve, and he was playing pretty well. I think we all know Rinderknech is a fine player, nothing higher than that, and Alcaraz won. First, I went to a breaker, though, so it actually was kind of close early on. Each set was competitive. Rinderknech covered the spread. He lost in straight sets, obviously, but Alcaraz has been playing great tennis. We know this. He won Cincinnati. They carried over into the U.S. Open, and we'll see how he looks against Leheshka. Now, for the spread, once again, it's relatively large. I mean, you're looking at Alcaraz, who's laying 7.5. I think that spread feels kind of right. I think you're arguing that Leheshka can make this close. Once again, a pretty simple Rinderknech scoreline of 7-6, 6-3, 6-4 to a T. Leheshka still covers. You're not asking for Leheshka to even do that much damage. Just keep a couple of sets close. 6-4s throughout is a cover. That gets you to 6 games. I think 7.5's a lot. I think that Alcaraz is going to win, and I do think that playing in the daytime in the heat in New York, I know it's starting to cool down now in September. You could argue could help out Alcaraz, but do I think Alcaraz fully rolls in every set? No. I think one set will be close, maybe like the Rinderknech match, you go to a breaker. Suddenly the over's in good shape, or maybe Leheshka, like the 2 previous head-to-head meetings this year, wins a set. It would not totally shock me if Leheshka won a set. He's got firepower. He has a good serve. If it's on, he could definitely steal a set in a breaker. And on top of that, intimidation might not be that big of a factor. It might matter down the road, but Leheshka has done damage against him before this year. I think unlike some of the other opponents, for example, Struff against Djokovic, if you want to go for Makic against Fritz, you could argue that maybe, unlike those guys, Leheshka will go in willing to go for it because he knows he can damage Alcaraz even slightly, which can cause him to avoid mentally checking out. I think there will be at least one close set. The question is, how do you find value on this match when one guy's minus 2,000? So I'm going to go with a different option instead. I'm going to go with the games, actually, for Leheshka. I think Leheshka can keep this close. Once again, 6-4s throughout, get you a cover. Even 2 6-4s and a 6-3. You still cover. That's 7 games. Give me plus 7.5 for Leheshka. Don't mind the over. We liked it for Rinderknech. I prefer 31.5 at minus 125, so I'll go with that as well. And I see people mentioning Alcaraz team total over for this one. I like it too. I think Leheshka proved, like we saw with Rinderknech, all it takes is one set of really good serving, and you end up going over. So I think you could end up getting the same thing here. The breaker in the match is plus 108. I thought that was kind of interesting. But if you want to go for the team total for Alcaraz, you have some options around 18 or 19.5. I think you'll get at least one close set. But if you want to go for the plus money play, the bold play of the match, Alcaraz is minus 2,000 again. Him to win and Leheshka to win a set, plus 168. I get even if you think that he loses in a straight set to Leheshka does, but you're getting minus 2,000 at plus 168. You're saving about $20. Like, I think that's worth a flyer if you want to try something on that. But the 7.5 does feel like a very large spread when you're looking at, once again, Rinderknech covering the number, and Alcaraz can still win comfortably and not cover. So give me Lehecka plus the games. I think this is disrespectful. I think minus 2,000 is insane. I think he should be a massive favorite, but 2,000's rich. I'd have like minus 1,500. But him being a bigger favorite than Sinner is insane to me. So I'll go with Lehecka plus the games for this one. Moving on to the next matchup. Going to look at the matchup between Djokovic and Fritz. Arguably the most competitive matchup on the board based on the odds. Head-to-head, not so much. I'll get into that in a second. Djokovic, though, is laying about 167. I saw 160, though, in a spot or two. Fritz is about plus 138. For the over-under, I see 40.5. For the game spread, minus 2.5 for Djokovic, plus 2.5 for Fritz. For the over 3.5 sets, minus 200. Under 3.5 sets is plus 150. Set spread, Joker, minus 1.5 sets is plus 115. Fritz, plus 1.5 sets, minus 148. And if you're looking at what has been a very, very lopsided rivalry, if you want to go for glory, Djokovic in straight sets is 3-1. Now, it's been mentioned in the comments section. I'll go into detail now. Fritz has historically gotten his ass kicked on a regular basis against Djokovic. Like, he shouldn't even show up to the arena. That's how bad it's been. They faced off 10 times. Djokovic is 10 in a lifetime. He has lost a set to Fritz twice. Fritz has never won more than one set in a single match against Djokovic in his career. Now, Joker, I know, is older, and yes, he's calling for the trainer all the time, got a massage after the first set against Struff, left the court in the middle of the match against Norrie. I get it. Having said that, do I think Fritz finally has the mental toughness to get past what could be a past prime Djokovic? I'm going to say no, but mentioned in the path so far, Djokovic beat Struff in straight sets, beat Norrie in 4, beat Svaja in 4, and beat Tien in 3. Fritz beat Makic in 3, great match by him, beat Kim in 4, beat Harris in 4, almost went down 2-0 in that match, but he ended up winning the second set, and then he won the next two, and then he beat Nava as well in straight sets. Having said that, yes, I know Joker is not the guy he used to be. He's still very, very good, as we saw against Struff. It's more of a mental thing, and speaking of, I'd say, clownless guys, Fritz is not on it, but I think we all know he's a classic top 5 player with a certain ceiling, and it's not a Grand Slam title. It's just not who he is. He made it to the final last year. Sinner killed him in straight sets, as expected. Fritz, I think, can make 1 or 2 sets close. Maybe unlike the other matchups, he actually wins 2 sets in this match against Djokovic. But will he win 3? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with Djokovic here. I think that mentally, he's a smarter tennis player than Fritz. The variety, the changing up of tactics. I think Fritz can be very one-dimensional. He'll go with his game plan, plan A. If that doesn't work, he's going down with plan A. That's kind of how it goes with Fritz. He's not the kind of guy that adjusts tactics on the fly. Djokovic, I think we'd agree, is probably the smartest tennis player of all time, and he's been more willing to adjust mid-match than I'd say anybody ever in the history of the sport. So if you're looking at what I think is a series IQ advantage in favor of Djokovic and variety, I just think Joker's going to win again. Now, I think Fritz will keep it close. Maybe there's another injury timeout and Joker punts a set, who knows. I think Joker wins in 4. If it goes 5, we'll see. I hope Joker's not fully injured because I really want to see Djokovic Alcaraz in the semis, as we all do. But I think I have to go with Djokovic until Alcaraz, or really, not really Alcaraz, until Fritz ends up beating him. I can't do it. You have to beat the guy. Show me something. You're 0-10 lifetime. You've lost in straight sets in 8 of the 10 meetings. You've never gone to a 5th set in all 3 Grand Slam meetings. I can't pick you, just simply put. Give me Djokovic here in this one. I'll go down with the GOAT here. The price feels kind of cheap. I get it, Fritz is playing well, but I think Joker is just a different animal. I mean, the actual opponents here, Joker hasn't really beaten anybody either, but we know Joker can ramp up his game against elite competition, as we saw against Alcaraz, for example, in the Aussie Open. For Fritz, though, Makic is playing great tennis. He won, beat Kim, beat Harris, and beat Nava. I'd say nobody really jumps off the page. I like Kim. He's more of a young challenger dominant player right now. I think he will be a solid ATP player moving forward. But the point is, he has not faced off against many people that can actually handle the rally tolerance that Djokovic has. And we know Harris hits a bunch of unforced errors, big server. Kim's a pretty decent rallier, but he's also a pretty big server. And Makic just didn't really have anything in the tank. And Fritz served way too well. If Fritz is going to win, he has to serve bombs like he did against Makic. And we know Joker is one of the best returners of all time. Give me Joker in this one. Fritz might punt away a bunch of break points. He might punt away a break with a double fault. Classic Fritz stuff. Give me Joker in this one. I'll go for the minus 1.5 games, a minus 140. But if you want the plus money play once again, give me Djokovic to win and both players to win a set. I will give Fritz the benefit of the doubt with the home crowd behind him. I'll give him one set, Joker to win, both players to win a set, plus 162. There we go. That's my thoughts on that one. Moving on to the matchups taking place on Wednesday. This is what could be the other most competitive matchup on the card. You have Felix taking on de Minaur. Now, de Minaur is favored in this one, as he is about minus 160, give or take. You're looking at Felix at around plus 130. For the spread, minus 2.5 for de Minaur, plus 2.5 for Felix. The over-under is at 39.5. Now, de Minaur had a nice, easy bye in the fourth round, taking on Reddy, and Pete buried him. Beat Altmaier in 3 and change after Altmaier won the first set, fell apart, got injured, he quit. Beat Mochizuki in straight sets, and beat O'Connell in straight sets. Felix, though, has had a much tougher path. Beat Harris, that is the British Harris, who's not very good. Beat Safulin, who has not been very good lately either. Then beat Zverev in 4, and beat Rublev in 3. Now, for the matchup in itself, head-to-head wise, Felix has been pretty good against him. Faced off last year on clay, and de Minaur did win in 3. The previous meetings, though, were very dated. Faced off in 2022 a couple of times, and we saw Felix win both. Won in the Davis Cup in straight sets, beat him in Cincinnati in straight sets as well. So, on a hard court, Felix is actually 3 in a lifetime. Now, one meeting was in 2017, so you could toss that out, but Felix's lifetime is 3-0 on hard court. Now, de Minaur's gotten better, and the fact is Felix is playing insanely well. Can he keep this up? You know what? For the price in itself, I'm going to say yes. Felix ended up beating 2 top 10 guys or fringe top 10 guys. We know that, of course, Zverev is a top 10 guy. Rublev's been kind of bouncing around, but he's still a top 15 guy. And he dropped 1 set against 2 of them combined. De Minaur has had one of the easiest paths to a quarterfinal I've ever seen. Beat Reddy, who was a qualifier, in the 4th round. He ended up beating, well, just reading off the names here, Altmaier, who beat Tsitsipas, etc. He got injured, so de Minaur quit, and Altmaier won a set in that one. Mochizuki, another qualifier, and O'Connell, who's been injured constantly for the last couple of months. So de Minaur hasn't beaten anybody worth a damn up to this point. Yes, he was great in the 4th round against a random qualifier. That's a phenomenal draw. Nothing else to add. Give me Felix here. I think 160 is egregious, honestly. I think de Minaur could be favored. I'm fine with it, but I think that you're looking at 160 being insanely disrespectful to Felix. Maybe the market's daring him to do it again. But the truth is his firepower can give de Minaur problems. De Minaur is a defensive-first player who uses court coverage to really outlast opponents. Now, Felix could spray errors, and maybe we'll see some regression happen with him. But if he keeps playing this well, he should be able to hit the ball past de Minaur and dominate all the rallies. Not to mention the fact that de Minaur is still not a great server, and we know Felix is the better server. De Minaur has tried to get better at it, but do I think he should be 160? No, I don't. I think de Minaur should be like minus 120. I think it's a very close match. I think that you could argue de Minaur should be favored because he has a bit more consistency than Felix. We know Felix can unravel at any point. But I'm going Felix here. I will ride the hot hand here with Felix. I think he's playing right now better than de Minaur, and I think the reason why de Minaur looks so good is based on the weak competition up to this point. But you beat Zverev in 4 and Rublev in 3 back-to-back. You earn my respect. Give me Felix at plus 130. And the price feels wrong to me. I think it's very expensive on de Minaur. If you wanted to even bet de Minaur, maybe wait till a better number mid-match. But 160 feels insanely disrespectful to Felix. So give me, once again, FAA. Get the job done here in this one. Last but not least, we have the, once again, favorite to win the entire event, Sinner, taking on Musetti in a battle of the Italians. So for this one, Sinner is minus 1667. I saw FanDuel move to minus 2,000, so that sounds about right. Now, Musetti's around 850. Find better numbers elsewhere if you shop around. Spread 7.5 or 6.5 juiced. 7.5 though, plus 105 for Sinner. Minus is 136 for Musetti, plus 7.5. The over/under 4 games at 32.5. Now, for the actual team total, Sinner is at 19.5. Under is minus 124. Over is minus 105. Musetti's at 13.5. Minus 125 to the under. The over is minus 104. Straight sets on this one is around minus 132, which I ended up finding. I saw a 125 on Bet365 if you want to go for that instead. But the real question is simple. Will this match be close at all, or will Musetti get buried like Bublik did? Now, I'm not going to make an argument for Musetti to win. He needs a miracle. He needs Sinner to get hurt and to basically quit. That's the only chance he has of winning, and Musetti has been playing very well. You could argue weak competition. Then again, it is what it is, not really his problem, but same thing I mentioned for de Minaur. So for the path so far, beat Perricard, who I know can be dangerous, but I think we all know if we've been paying attention to his results recently, he's been objectively horrible for about the entire season, and nobody's really talked about it. And the fact is, Perricard won the first set in a breaker. Musetti coasted. Perricard's been really, really bad so far this year. Goffin's been bad too. Goffin beat Howells in the first round. Musetti killed him, but Goffin we know is washed at this point in his career. Beat Caboli, good win. Problem was Caboli was off the marathon against Brooksby, and he got injured. So he was basically a dead man walking, tried to play it through, ended up losing, and he quit. And then Munar, I know was getting killed anyway, he also got hurt and chose not to quit. So you're looking at Musetti, who so far beat Perricard as a serve bot, who really can't do anything else, ended up beating Goffin, who's washed, former top 10 player in the world, and 2 injured guys who you could argue are better on other surfaces. We know Caboli made the quarterfinals in Wimbledon. He also won a couple He won a couple of clay titles this year. You can argue that Caboli's better on clay than hard court. Munar's definitely better on clay than hard court. So Musetti's been good, but this is definitely Goliath. Do I think he'll cosplay as David? I do not. I think he's going to lose handily. Now, looking at Sinner's actual path so far, beat Capriva, complete bye. Popperin did win a 1,000 title on hard court last year, killed him in straight sets. Shapo was kind of weird. Shapo served very well, and he won a set. Then Sinner beat him in 4. Sinner, though, did get back to even after getting broken early, then double faulted the first set away, and Shapo held. But Sinner took that as a wake-up call and beat Bublik 1-1-1. So do I think Musetti is going to do anything of note in this match? No, I don't. I think Musetti gets destroyed. I think he might win more than 3 games compared to Bublik, but I think he's going to get killed in straight sets. Faced off twice in their careers. One was on hard court in 2021, and that was before Sinner's final form. He won in straight sets. Faced off Monte Carlo. We know that Musetti made the final Monte Carlo this year, and we know Musetti is much better on clay. His best surface by far. Sinner in that meeting in 2023 beat him 2-2. He won 4 games on his best surface against Sinner. Now he's on Sinner's best surface. Have fun. That's all I'm going to say. Just have fun. I think that Sinner's going to kill him. I think straight sets at minus 132 is a great price. I think he wins in straight sets. End of the day, he had one bad set against Shapo, unforced errors, couldn't hit a serve. Shapo served a bunch of bombs, and it was still 5-5 in the first set. Then Sinner flipped the switch, and he won in 4. Musetti's played very well. No shame to him. He's been playing great tennis. He's still not a great server. He still plays way behind the baseline, and he wants to be showcasing the firepower, but mostly playing defensive with the one-handed backhand. I just think Sinner bullies him around the court. I think Musetti will willingly park himself 15 feet behind the baseline, trying to return serves. Didn't work for Bublik. I don't see it working for Musetti either. And Musetti, unlike Bublik, is not a great server. He might be better than he was previously, but Bublik had not been broken in the entire tournament, and Sinner lost 1 game in each of the first 3 sets. I think Musetti loses. If you want my score here, 3-3-4, maybe. I'm trying to make an argument for Musetti. I really don't have one. Once again, Sinner plays that well against Bublik again in this one. He's winning in less than 2 hours. Like, this match is over immediately on arrival. So give me Sinner in straight sets as my thought for this one. I'm shocked that Musetti is a smaller dog than Leheshka. Alcaraz has lost to random guys before in Grand Slams. We saw, for example, of course, to Zandschulp last year. We saw him lose a couple of shockers in the past. Sinner doesn't do that. So Musetti, I think, is having a great tournament. I know that beating Munar is good, but Sinner is a different animal. I think he dominates. That's kind of where I'm at. See, a quick question, though, from Mike, to switch gears a second, talk about women's here, about Osaka. Because she killed Goff, and she's been playing great tennis. Now, we know that Osaka, I believe, is number 2 on the WTA clown list right now, mainly after basically quitting a title match in Canada against Mboko. But she's been great. Now, we are biased on the show. We do have Mukova to win the quarter at plus 2,000. So if you want the hedge, you can take it. We already have action on Mukova. Do I think Mukova wins? No. I think Osaka's going to win. I think Osaka's playing well enough to actually compete for the title. Will she win the title? I'm going to say no. But she's playing really, really well. Good for her. I think Mukova playing 3 sets every round is going to get to her at some point. Didn't get to her in the last match against Kostyuk. But I do think you're looking at Osaka probably winning, but I hope I'm wrong, because that plus 2,000 outright on Mukova to win the quarter would be very, very nice. So hopefully that ends up cashing, but that's kind of my thoughts there on that match. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the actual breakdown of the quarters. Time to run into the lock and dog picks. So for the lock, before we get into the lock and dog, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. WrestleMania happening all summer long. Running out of time. Season to start in a couple of days. 15 million prizes, 2 minutes first place. No way of running the trades. You can also use Underdog for pick'em entries. They have tennis as well. Aces, double faults, breaks of serve, total games, you name it. But also check it out. You win up to 500 times your entry. When you sign up for your new account, don't forget to take advantage of the new sign-up deal that they have at Underdog. Play just $5, $50 in bonus funds with promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig, new sponsor. They are America's #1 sports prediction market. Since Novig is an exchange, you'll get the best numbers available on market compared to sports books. It's available in 35 plus states. Download the Novig app. Spend $5, $50 in funds as well. So same deal as the Underdog entry or Underdog, but once again with Novig. So check that out. But you have to use the promo code SGPN. To get on the actual Novig, take advantage of the $5 and $50 promo code or promo with the promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Cam Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the quarterfinals in the men's U.S. Open. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. On the bright side, we cannot possibly do worse than the last episode. So I'll put it this way, the bar is very, very low right now. We'll try to turn it around. For the lock, I'm going to go back to the last match we talked about. I am going to go with the best player in the world to look dominant again against a guy who is not at his best on a hard court. Give me Sinner in straight sets at minus 125. That was on Bet365. A very generous price, in my opinion. Faced off twice in their careers, once on clay a couple years ago, in an event that eventually Musetti made the final in and lost to Alcaraz. The point is, though, Sinner lost 4 games in 2 sets on clay against Musetti. I don't know how Musetti is supposed to do damage against him. Sinner is a monster. He's lost 1 set in the entire tournament. He's off of his best match in arguably the entire season, besides the clay match in Rome against Rude, which was all-time stuff. He lost 1 game against a multiple-time French Open finalist on clay. That's insane. But still, he lost 3 games against a guy who had not been broken in the entire tournament or in the event. So Sinner's in God mode right now. We expect to see elite players like Djokovic and Alcaraz and Sinner raise their level after the first couple rounds. I think Sinner does that here. Musetti's been playing well. Still a favorable draw. Perricard's been bad. Goffen's washed. Caboli got injured and Munar got injured. It's been a very nice draw for him. Now he gets the immediate Black Diamond skiing adventure, which is going from the easy slope to the impossible one. I think he's going to get overwhelmed. I think Musetti is not a good enough server. I think his returning game is fine. Sinner might come to the net, though, because you might see him pepper the backhand for the return, with Musetti standing all the way back on the court. But the thing about Sinner is that even with Musetti standing that far back, Sinner's going to take control of every rally. Musetti might occasionally let something rip for a forehand or a backhand, but for the most part, he's playing defense. And he's a great defender, don't get me wrong. But you can't go into a match and let Sinner dictate every point with the firepower that he has. It's a really bad matchup for Musetti as far as I'm concerned. I think Sinner kills him, and I think he wins comfortably. Give me Sinner in straight sets. Once again, they faced off twice in their careers. Sinner has won all 4 sets. Most of them were not very close, and he dominated the only clay meeting, which is Musetti's, I'd say, best chance of being competitive against Sinner. Now, I understand it could be tricky. Anytime you take a straight set win, all it takes is 1 set to go awry. I get that. Musetti should get broken at least 1 time in each set. Sinner is that good of a returner. I think that'll serve well enough to not get broken. If he does, maybe get a breaker in there. But Sinner, I think, is a minus 2,000 favorite who should be a much bigger price to win in straight sets. I think that 125 is very, very affordable. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go with Sinner in straight sets here at minus 125 is my lock for the show. For my dog, I am going to go with a parlay for this one. Now, Djokovic I am going to take because I do think Fritz can pull this off. I'll believe it when I see it. However, I didn't want to take the games because 2.5 is still minus, so you have to go for 3.5. I didn't want that. Maybe Fritz no-shows with the mental block he has, and you see Joker win in straight sets, and that way that prop goes up in flames with him to win and both players to win a set. Plus, Joker, if he is injured, maybe he retires. Who knows? And the play voids. But I'm going to go with the 2-pick parlay. Give me Djokovic money line with the Alcaraz and Leheshka over, alt over, 29.5 games, and that pays out at plus 140 on Bet Rivers. Now, Bet Rivers does void for money lines if a guy retires, so keep that in mind. Joker, I think, will play it out, but just in case, it's better to have that insurance policy if you can. Joker said before is 10-0 lifetime against Fritz, 3-0 in Grand Slams. I understand that Fritz has played well recently. Djokovic is built for these moments, best player of all time. I think he eventually uses the IQ and the variety to wear down Fritz over time. Think he wins in 4 or 5 to get the money line to play it safe here as the first leg of the parlay. Second leg with the over 29.5 games here. Alcaraz said before has dropped a set to Leheshka in each of the last 2 meetings this year. In fact, Leheshka beat him on hard court this year. So you could get a breaker in there, like the Rinderknecht match, which had a breaker despite Alcaraz winning in straight sets. Leheshka maybe wins a set. Who knows? Good serve, good ground strokes. He can neutralize the Alcaraz return game for 1 set. All we need. Give me the, once again, reduced total for the parlay. It's basically Djokovic money line for a little bit of juiced odds. It's kind of my angle for this one. But Alcaraz has not dropped a set yet. His magic against Rinderknecht did away in 32. And maybe we see Leheshka do damage like he has done the first 2 meetings of the season. But I think the over has some value. I'll go with that as my other play for the parlay. So once again, the 2 picks for the quarterfinals. Lock's going to be on Sinner in straight sets at minus 125. For the dog, I'm going to go with the Djokovic money line, parlayed with the Alcaraz total over 29.5. The alt total there, that pays at a plus 140 on Bet Rivers. But back once again, for the semis, I will do the men's and the women's semis, so there will be an episode there. Was going to the women's. To be honest, didn't have enough time, but I am going to be doing the women's semis as well, so keep that in mind moving forward. Till next time, find me on Twitter as Radio. Good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.